Welcome everyone to D Sport Live. I'm Michael Ferrara. Nice to see you guys today. Well, I don't get to see you, you get to see me. But what I've got here for you today are some new products. These are products that should have been at the SEMA show, which of course didn't happen this year thanks to COVID. One of the many things that screwed up this year. But anyways, we'd like to go over some of the new products, and two of the lines that had some new products for this year are the Koyo radiator line, Koyorad, and they've got a new product here that they haven't had before. Now you know Koyo radiator, of course, for their radiators, but now they have just released oil coolers. So the nice thing about the oil cooler here, hold on here, there we go. Had a little difficult here. Are we good now?
No.
All right, we're good. All right. So we can see it has a dash 10 fitting on both sides of it. And then you can use standard metric hardware to mount from the top or the bottom. So making brackets to put this on just about any car is relatively easy. And this is just one of the first ones that Koyorad has out. And the cool thing is they also have some other things coming up. And what they're going to basically do is have intercooler cores available, and they will also feature a tube and fin design. Now a tube and fin design, what's the advantage over a bar and plate? Weight savings. So you're going to have a dramatic weight savings for the same size intercooler dimensionally as a bar and plate. Now to get the same cooling effect as a bar and plate, it really goes pound for pound because the intercooler works as a heat sink. So if you actually had a tube and fin that was the same weight as a bar and plate, the tube and fin's always going to kick its butt. But to do that, sometimes for the big horsepower cars, you're going to go to a very thick core. So things to consider. We're going to have more tech on intercoolers and intercooler selection in our future D Sport Magazine videos. So make sure, if you're not already subscribed to us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, make sure you're following us on those. So please do that. And for the time being, that'll wrap it up for Koyorad. Let's move on to DBA, Disc Brakes Australia. Now, I first learned about Disc Brakes Australia a few years back when I got my R33 GTR, and finding pads and rotors and stuff like that, or actually rotors at the time, was extremely difficult. And somebody had told me about DBA, contacted them, and started using some of their product, and it actually worked really good. And I've used at least the 4000 and the 5000 line, and we'll talk about the three different lines that they have here. This is the entry-level line from DBA, and let me tell you a little bit about that one here. This one is, so I get the right name for it, I think they just call it the Street Series. Yep, Street Series. So this is your basic replacement rotor starting at about 63 bucks. It, you know, it's not made for high performance. It's made basically to replace your OE rotor with something that's going to be better. So it's got the right type of paint on it so it doesn't rust. It's got some cross drilling to help the pads with the outgassing, make them work a little bit better. And it's got a patented T2, what they call their bi-directional slot design. So they've got slots and drilling on that. And if we take a look at that, I believe it also has the kangaroo paw ventilation system, which they all do, which is kind of unique in the sense of how it's doing it. You know, typically you'd see just normal slots in here, but they give it a bit more of a channel, so you get a little bit more surface area in here, a little bit more irregularity that works with the turbulent air and all that kind of good stuff to help your rotor stay a little bit cooler. Now let's move into the 4000 series. So now you've got some premium materials in the 4000 series. It is still a one-piece rotor, which is going to be what sets it apart mainly from the 5000 series. And it's a direct replacement generally, unless you have some type of kit that's putting Evo brakes on a GTR or something like that. It's cast from an XG150 high carbon alloy, and it's also goes through what they call a thermal stability profiling. Now, what is that? Well, they're not very specific about it, but it's some type of heat or metal treatment. So they could be cryoing these, they could be doing some type of slow heat treatment to them. But whatever it does, it basically gives you a rotor that's going to last longer. It's a better material, it lasts longer, and you know, the kangaroo paw ventilation once again is incorporated in that. And basically, what they say is that kangaroo paw excuse me, kangaroo paw, the word I'm looking for here, design, sorry, kangaroo paw design will give you about 30% increase in surface area, which will help cool the rotor about 20% more than a standard slotted, standard ventilation design. Now let's move into the 5000 series. So the 5000 series, this is what I had actually on the front of my R33 GTR. On the rear I had the 4000 series, the one piece. But on the front I switched it from a factory one piece to a two piece, which is what some of the 5000 series fitments will allow you to do. Why do you want a two piece instead of a one piece? Well, the main reason is to cut down on weight. By using an aluminum rotor in the middle, should do that one more time. An aluminum rotor hat in the middle, you save some weight. It still has a steel outer ring, and basically you get the best of both worlds. You get a tough material on the outside that's going to give you good wear, good dependability, and you're pulling out weight from the inside. And you know, part of what happens, and one of the things you got to kind of look into when you're choosing a two-piece rotor design is to make sure that the method that they're actually using to retain these doesn't basically have any issues with noise and stuff like that. Sometimes these full floating rotors can have some noise issues and stuff like that. The 5000s, I've used them before, don't have any kind of additional noise or anything. You wouldn't know that you've got a two-piece rotor on there versus a one-piece rotor. So it is a very good selection. And as you may be finding on a lot of the newer applications, the higher end cars, they're coming from the factory with a two-piece rotor. So rather than having to go out and purchase a actual two-piece rotor to replace it, DBA is now offering the replacement rings. So you can keep your OEM hat, your OEM aluminum hat, and add this on, and you basically save some money because they're not having to sell you this part of it here. You're just getting this part here, which will actually, I believe, comes with all new hardware for that too, and instructions on how to install it. It's very important that you follow those instructions so you get the right torque specs and everything in here to make sure everything works well. Another feature that you'll find on DBA rotors are these three little paint marks here. Now this is heat paint, and how you can use that to your advantage is you can basically use this paint to find out how hot your rotor is running. And if you're trying to figure out which pad combination works best for you, for the type of driving or the type of use you have, you can use these marks here to let you have an indication of, is my rotor running at this temperature or that temperature? And DBA has some good information on exactly how to do that. You can follow their website and check that out. So let's talk brake pads from them. So brake pads from DBA, this is, I believe, a newer addition to the line, because when I first started getting some of their products and using it, they didn't have it. But now the street performance pads that they have here, this is going to be great for just about any car out there. You know, if you're got a daily driver and you're using the car and you want a pad that's going to do better than the OE pad, it's not going to create too much dust, it's not going to have noise, this is a great pad to kind of start out with. If you want something a little bit more aggressive, let's say you're actually doing some track driving where you're going out there and, you know, hitting the brakes lap after lap after lap, these will eventually not be your best choice for that. You want to move into the extreme performance line, the XP line of the brake pads. And so these are great for, you know, if you're club days, if you drive like you're on the racetrack when you're on the street, that's also a good option. And it's also if you have a tow truck, you know, if you have an application where you're towing and stuff, you actually need a good pad in there that's not going to fade. One of our guys, when they were bringing their bug out to Vandermeer, Jeff, when he was bringing the bug out to Vandermeer, he was in quite a few situations where he was very careful about using the brakes too much. He just had factory brakes on this vehicle, and it took him a lot longer to get to where he was going just because he didn't have the right pad in place. So remember, if you're towing, if you're doing really aggressive street driving, or if you're doing some track days on the weekend, extreme performance way to go. If you've got a daily driver that, you know, you're just getting on occasionally and stuff, street performance way to go. Street performance advantage with not so much dust, not so much noise. Going to get a little bit more of that with the extreme performance. And I know we've got a question. Go ahead.
What type of rotor is better, cross-drilled or slotted?
Ah, that's a good one. Cross-drilled or slotted. You know, both can be done right. And that's one of the big problems. You know, some of these cross-drilled has got some bad press in the past because of certain companies doing it. And when they do it, I'll show you kind of the right way to do it. We can look at these. Let me show you a close-up of these. If you cross-drill the rotor and you're doing a good job of putting a nice chamfer on that, a nice radius on that so you don't have a stress riser, it's going to work great. It's going to work well. You're not going to have many issues if you have the right pad in there, if you're running the rotor at the right temperature. Of course, if you don't have the right pad and rotor combination running at the right temperatures, all bets are off. Yeah, you're going to get cracks and you're going to have those problems. But if you've got the right pad choice, if you got everything set up and the cross drilled is done right, you're not going to have any cracks that are going to be issues for you in the future. Slotting is another way of doing it. Why we do this is to kind of get the gases out as those pads are turning from a solid into a gas when you're using them. It's a good way to get the gas out of there so it's not coming up under the pad and causing things to happen. So that's one of the things that you can do through that. Now, slotting kind of serves the same purpose of doing that. So it's a less intrusive method of doing it, and just about as effective. It also helps, clean the pad a little bit and keep the edges in good shape and stuff like that. So, in some of the applications they'll use a combination of them, and some they'll just offer one. So it's kind of up to you, personal preference. I think if you've got a real endurance application that you're really hammering on it, you can go either way. The slotted only might be something that works well if you don't have any problems with any weird pedal things happening as you get further along and the gas isn't doing anything. You can stick with the slotted. If you are noticing some issues, you can try the cross drilled and kind of go from there. Yes, another question.
Can you resurface these rotors?
Yes, you can resurface these rotors. That's not an issue, and in fact there's a few companies that make specialized tooling to do it. It's just basically, we have a machine shop here, so we look at this and the challenge is just that you're interrupting the cut. When you have a factory rotor where it's nice and flat, you can use a cutter on there that's really nice and hard and will last forever. When you have something that has holes or slots in there, you got to use a cutter that tends to wear a bit faster and is a little bit more durable to impact and stuff like that, so it doesn't chip every time it hits one of these holes in there. So if the machine shop or the place that's doing the resurfacing for you knows what they're doing, they just have to use the right cutter, the right speed and feed, and they can put a great finish on the rotors. All right, so I think that wraps it up for questions about the DBA line. I want to thank you guys so much, but before we go, a while back we did the 86 challenge. If you guys aren't familiar with that, when the FRS BRZ first came out, we knew a number of companies were making forced induction solutions for the car. We wanted to try those out and basically try the cars on the dyno, try the cars on the track. And to do that, to make it an even playing field, we equipped the cars with the same wheels, with the same tires, with the same brake package. In that brake package, we chose the DBA rotors, and we'd like you to see a little bit about them right now. Now, it may sound strange, but one of the best ways to go quicker around a racetrack is to improve the stopping performance of the vehicle. Stopping performance of the vehicle improvements will let you brake later, carry more speed into the turn, and basically waste less time. Now, for the 86 challenge, the OEM brakes, they're not that bad on the FRS, but we're really going to be pushing it. We've got cars that have improved suspension, better grip tires, and are also making some additional horsepower. So a good braking system was a must. And Cameron, being our test driver, he's always hard on brakes. So we needed to find a solution there that would give us good braking performance, street and track day type combination. And for that we selected the DBA brake system. The 4000 series rotors seen here are cast iron rotors. They've got the grooves in here to allow the pads to outgas and do all the good stuff that they're supposed to be doing there. And the XP650 pads is a pad that's designed to work just with this T3 rotor. It's a great pad. It works great when it's cold. It's not noisy. It's just an all-around great pad. You can drive it on the street. You can bring it to the track. You can be hard on the brakes like Cameron. And one of the things that we were really impressed with was the fact that we were expecting the rotors to just be gone, the pads to just be eaten up. But the combination of the XP650 with the DBA 4000 series T3, not a problem at all. So if you're looking for that type of combination for the street and some occasional track day, it's a pretty good way to go. We were really impressed with the performance in the 86 challenge, and if you guys got any questions, please let us know and we'll try to answer them for you.